My name is Misty Hosley, and I am the co-manager of the Hildene Goat Dairy.
My name is Kimberly Pacino, and I am one of the co-managers here at the dairy. The first due date is March 31st, and April is a full month. Lots of babies expected that month, and then a couple into May.
So each doe usually has twins. We do have some that have quadruplets or triplets, so it's really hard to say how many we're expecting. At least 40.
I love all the excitement of the baby goats and not knowing how many each mom is going to have and if they're boys or girls or what they're going to look like. It's always a surprise. We have quite a few new moms this year, and sometimes they'll tend to give birth a little earlier, so we have to watch them. And a lot of times, being first timers, they might not know exactly what to do after their babies are born, so that's why we're here to help them just in case.
Hi, my name is Ethan Hacker, and today I'm going to teach you how to play electric guitar, what an electric guitar is, and how to get started with music. This is an electric guitar. It's a 6-stringed instrument that you can play in lots of different ways. Everything that I'm going to talk about today can also be applied to an acoustic guitar. So if you have a guitar laying around, pick it up and we'll get started. So first thing you want to do when you pick up your guitar is get it in tune. The guitar is tuned in a very specific way for most situations. The strings are tuned in 6 different pitches, and these pitches go E, A, D, G, B, and high E, going all the way down the strings. So if you have a guitar now, pick it up and we'll get started. So first thing you want to do is get your guitar in tune. So follow along with me and we'll tune our guitar. We're going to start with the low E string, and then we'll go down the strings to get everything in tune. So let's start E, and try to match my pitch with your guitar. All right, let's go down to the A string. Now down to the D string. Onto the 4th G string. Now onto the B string. And now the high E string. Now your guitar should be in tune. So the first thing you might want to do when you pick up guitar is learn some crazy guitar solo. But everyone starts at the same place, by learning some easy, simple chords. So today I'm going to teach you some chords so that you can play a really quick, easy jam. And here are the chords I'm going to teach you. E minor, A major, and G major. Now, believe it or not, with these 3 chords, you can play hundreds of thousands of songs because most songs use the same chords. So here's how you learn E minor. It's very easy. It's only 2 notes. So what you want to do is you want to take your hand and clamp it around the back of the neck like this. Don't hold it too firm because then you won't be able to slide your hand around. But what I want you to do is I want you to take your fingers and I want you to give them names. This finger, your pointer finger, is called number 1. This finger, your middle finger, is called finger 2. Your ring finger is finger 3, and your pinky finger is finger 4. So to make an E minor chord, you want to take fingers 2 and 3, which are your ring finger and your middle finger, and I want you to put them on the 2nd string, 2nd fret, which is right here in this position here. You can count up by frets, 1 fret, 2 frets, and put that finger there to make this note. And now I want you to take your ring finger and I want you to put it on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and press those down nice and firm just behind where the fret is. Now I want you to take your hand, if you've got a pick or if you don't have a pick, it doesn't matter. I want you to strum the strings just like this. And that's how you make an E minor chord. So practice it a few times and see where you get. Pretty simple, pretty easy, sounds great. And you'll hear this chord in plenty of songs. Now I'm going to teach you how to make an A major chord, which is another really common chord. For this, it's pretty similar to the E minor chord, but we make a few changes. We're going to take our pointer finger, which is our 1st finger, and put it on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. So that's right here, and we're going to make this pitch. Now we're going to take our middle finger, or 2nd finger, and we're going to put it on the 4th string, 2nd fret, to make this pitch. And now we're going to take our ring finger, or 3rd finger, and we're going to put it on the 5th string, 2nd fret, to make this pitch. Now we're going to strum the chord, but be careful this time because the low E string you do not need to hit. You only need to strum the bottom 5 strings to make this chord. That's an A major chord. Now, if we go over what we just learned, we've got an E minor chord by putting your middle finger or 2nd finger on the 2nd fret on the 2nd string, and your ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and we make this chord. And now our A major, 2nd fret of the 3rd string with our 1st finger, 2nd fret of the 4th string with our middle finger, and 2nd fret of the 5th string with our ring finger to make this chord. So now we've got our E minor and our A major. And we can strum those together and play a nice little tune. So it does take a little practice, and you shouldn't expect to be able to change chords that fast. But with some practice and with some repetition of your chord progressions, and that is when you change chords one to the other, you'll be able to play this progression pretty easily. Now the 3rd chord we're going to learn is a little more difficult. This is a G chord, and that will complete our 3 chords that we're going to learn today. Our G chord starts with our 3rd finger, which is our ring finger, on the 3rd fret of the 1st string to make this pitch. Our middle finger, which is our 2nd finger, is going to go on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string to make this pitch. And our 5th finger, or our pinky finger, is going to go on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, the high E string, to make this pitch. And that's our G chord. And you can either play it with your 1st and 2nd finger, or you can play it with your 2nd and 3rd finger. It doesn't matter. So to go over what we've done again, we've got an E minor chord, an A major chord, and a G major chord. And you can play all 3 of those together to make a nice little song. So now you've learned 3 chords, which are the most common chords that you'll find in most songs, and you can play hundreds and hundreds of songs with those chords. So just to go over what we've learned again, one last time, we've got our E minor chord, which is our second finger on our second string on the 2nd fret, our third finger, which is on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and we strum it all together. We've got our A major chord, which is our first finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, our second finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and our third finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. And then finally we have our G major chord, which is our third finger or second finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, our second finger on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string, and our 4th finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. And you can play anything you want with those 3 chords. So thank you for tuning in. This has been Ethan Hacker, and I will see you next time with some more advanced guitar lessons.
I'm David Cannell from Manchester. Geocaching is a worldwide treasure hunt, just a worldwide treasure hunt with a little high-tech approach to it. So in the beginning, there would be a geocache that would get posted on the internet. You'd probably get an email or notice that it was out there. You'd say, that looks kind of interesting to me. You'd have to download the coordinates, read about what you were up against in your excursion, and you would end up taking a hike or a walk or somewhere, and you might, depending on the terrain, the degree of difficulty, you'd go searching for it. But at the end of that search, you would find a container, usually like an ammo can or some Tupperware that's going to have a bunch of little trinkets in it. And these are just inexpensive novelty trinket toys. And the whole process that's an exchange program. With your backpacker, as you're set up, you would have trinkets of your own, and you would open that geocache up after you found it. You'd rummage through and exchange trinkets. You would take one and then replace one. You can use the GPS, but in recent years, our smartphones, that are GPS enabled, can do the same thing. It's right there in your pocket. You don't have to buy a $500 gadget. If you get the geocaching app, cost about 10 bucks, it'll do everything for you that your GPS does. You could do this right now. You could do this right this minute right here. You'd be geocaching within 20 minutes. Like all kinds of games, there are some people who hide them that are extremely hard to find, and there are those who will make them very obvious and actually give you a hint that's about this clear. It's underneath the beech tree by the stream. So there's all kinds. There are some that are really frustrating, but that's just part of the challenge, where it's like a needle in a haystack look. There are some that are like that. As I said, some are very obvious. Now, there's people who've done as many as 20,000 of these. My family and I have done a little under 2,000 of them. There'll be a little logbook that you open up, and you sign your handle in, you sign your name in, and you might make a little description about who was with you, how you found it, what the challenges were. In my own family, when we were doing that, it was competitive. Let's say that it would be my wife, who was the absolute best at it. She was quite uncanny. My grandsons or whatever. When we came to a region and we got our own GPSs and we come to there's a scramble that cuts loose then, because someone wants to find it first. So there's a scramble with the kids running around and we're running around. And actually, my wife is so good at it, and we were, our handle, we are the 251 Big Dogs, and I would let the boys work for it for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I'd say, if you don't find it pretty quick, I'm going to cut the big dog loose. That would be Grandma. She already knew where it was. If Grandpa's going on an excursion, I have to answer 2 questions. How far is it, and how steep is it? The fact if there's a treasure at the end of how far it is or how steep it is, it makes an adventure, and it's been a lot more fun doing that. So for some, it's the excitement of the find, as it would be when my grandsons were little, but for me, it's about the journey. It's a journey that took me up on a mountain or a summit or a peak or a vista that I hadn't been to before. I've spent much of my life traipsing around the woods and the hills of Vermont and had been to a lot of places. But when I took up geocaching, I was taken to nooks and crannies and summits and ponds and lakes that I would not have gotten to without the lure of that geocache. Manchester, I think, is a great area for geocaching because you've got a lot of different options. You've got a lot of different terrains. If someone wants to go to one of mine or a couple of mine, they can go up to the slide that's up on Equinox, or they can go up to the slide that's on the East Mountain, But if they're going to do mine, they're going to Liebrook Falls, they're going to get a hike in and do that. But there are also many other places. There's a lot of them over at the rec area, which is just great for kids and little ones to do that. And then, of course, there's some of those that are a little more indescript or not all that exciting, stuck here and around town. But there's lots of them. So anyone who comes through town, it's got whatever they want. If they want to go for, a 6 or 8 mile hike to get one, or if they just want to take a walk through town and check out the town, they can do a little geocaching as they do that. How do you get started with the geocaching? Well, it's like anything else we do, we Google something. So if you Google geocaching, the first thing that's going to come up is going to be geocaching.com. And when you open up that website, it's probably as good a website for playing games and doing things as there is available. And it'll give you all kinds of instructions and tell you all the things you need to know about it. So all you need to do is Google geocaching.com. And more than likely, no matter where you are, there's one in a very close proximity to where you're sitting there right now. So that'll explain to you how to do everything. And if you want to walk along with me, this thing will probably flip around. It's going to point to it, but you see how it's gone to 93 feet, 88 feet? Now, if that number was going higher, we're going the wrong way, okay? So it is telling me that we're headed in the right direction, and now it's kind of gotten really oriented and tells me that it's just about 65 feet east of here. If my children, anybody was with me, they're going to look around here and they're going to say, is there a rock or is there a stone? Is there something out of place that's kind of interesting down on the stream? That it's probably down over there. But at this point, if you're an experienced geocacher, you know that it's 40 feet. That's not very far. It's right here nearby somewhere. These are the people that have found it recently and pretty much do that. Sometimes they'll put in, this was my experience. I did this or that, hiked here and there, but you just found a geocache.
Hi guys, my name is Charlotte and this is my friend Ethan.
Hey everybody.
And today we are going to make chocoladefondant.
What's that?
That's a really good recipe I have for my family, and it's like a melted chocolate cake.
That's great. Let's get started.
Yes.
So what do we do first?
First, you have to melt the chocolate and the butter, and then you put them together in a bowl.
And we just melted this chocolate before.
Yes.
And it looks
so
really
this is
nice.
chocolate and butter. Now you have to stir in the sugar.
All right.
Which we have
Put
right
in the sugar.
here. And then you stir your 5 eggs together and make sure to mix them well. So the next step after you stir your eggs in is to add the flour. You have to be careful when you add the flour because we want a liquidy batter, not a dry batter. So now we do add the baking powder.
And the vanilla extract?
Yes. So this is how the batter should look like. As you can see, it's liquidy.
And now we've added the baking powder and the vanilla extract and we're ready to keep going.
Yep. Then you have to make sure that you buttered your cups.
Which we did already.
Yep.
Cups are buttered.
And then you add this to like 3/4 of a cup. And we're back again. Now we're filled up the cups, and this is how it looks like. It looks really good. So now the next step is to get it in the oven on 355 Fahrenheit in about 5 to 7 minutes.
We're all set to go.
Now we just have to wait to get them
All right.
done.
Let's wait.
Stay tuned. And something you can add to this is ice cream and raspberry sauce. It's the best thing ever and looks so good. Here is what it looks like.
Like chocolate and cake. How is it? That is so good. That is the best chocolate fondant, chocolate fondant I've ever had in my
This
life.
is delicious.
Yum.
Mmm.
Nice job.